I'm going to have our panelists pose a question to the other side, one from each side, pose a question themselves, and ask them if they have a question they'd like to have somebody answer. Let me begin with, on the fore side, Sally, Satel.
Okay, so I can address my question.
You can ask,
okay.
Preferably the one of them.
Yes, Dr. Childress, I wanted to ask you. I'm going to quote you something you wrote in 1992. And then we work up. You said, it would be odd to structure a system designed to promote altruistic behavior with the goal of saving human life, and you're referring to the UNO system, when a system that relied on financial incentives could save more lives. So I took this to mean that an altruistic system would be preferable to an incentive system if it saved more lives. An incentive system would be preferable to an altruistic system if it could be shown to save more lives. Well, okay, that was 1992. Fast forward 14 years to 2006 when you were the head of the Institute of Medicine report on organ donation. And in answer to the question that the report posed, what should we do about even pursuing a pilot trial of incentives, you had said, or the report said, but I know you concurred with it, it is not time yet. Now, the report spent a lot of time, I'll be quick, on cadaver donation. I'll just say very quickly, believe it or not, even though 2 million people die a year, perhaps 20,000 are eligible to become organ donors. It's just not that easy to be eligible as a cadaver. So even if we used every deceased person, there wouldn't be enough. So your focus on deceased donation would not help. I'm all for it. Let 1,000 organs bloom. I've never heard a policy, frankly, I didn't like that would increase. But that's not going to be enough. So my question to you is,
I was wondering whether
if not, we'll get to it. Here it is. If it wasn't time then, in 2006, when is it going to be time? How many more people are going to have to die until we can have your permission to finally at least have a trial of incentives?
First of all, I still affirm all those positions, and they're not incompatible with each other. Basically, my view is that we should give the kind of system we have preference. And by the way, it's not simply an altruistic system. People have a lot of different motives for donating organs. We get confused when we identify altruism with donation. People are often donating, say, for example, a family member's organ because they want to gain some meaning out of a tragedy that's occurred. They may be donating as a living person an organ, again, because of the relationships involved that don't have to do specifically with altruism. I think we have not yet given a fair chance to the system we have in that we have not yet put the resources and energy into it. Okay? That is a one person's judgment about it. I see Amy frowning a great deal, but you'll get to respond to it in a moment. I still have, since the question was 5 minutes long, I get that much time in response.
It's actually
It's only 3 minutes.
Now, there are only 13,000 to 16,000 people who are declared dead by neurological standards who could probably donate organs. There are another, on a conservative estimate, 20,000 plus who are declared dead by cardiopulmonary standards, and that is a direction that the IM report recommended that at least merits a trial. But since I happen to agree with Lloyd on this, not much else, but at least on this, that we ought to be giving preference to the cadaveric system over the living, in part because, as Amy noted, we actually don't know a lot about the long-term risk, which we do need to know. So it's a matter of structuring this in terms of preferential systems, and the IM report did not rule it out completely, but held that let's see if this will work.
I'm going to give you an opportunity now, James, to ask a question if you'd like. You don't have to.
Oh, I will.
I thought you might, to any one of our panelists.
Lloyd, you know that I find much about your...
Do we all get a question?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You'll get good. I know you're chomping at the bit.
Frank, you get 2 questions.
I have to get out the boxing gloves for you guys.
No, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me raise this of Lloyd, because Lloyd, other than perhaps sensing a kind of market fundamentalism here, I cannot for the life of me see how you think the system you propose would work. If donors now, people who are potential donors, are not willing to sign a donor card because they don't trust the system, they worry that they'll be declared dead prematurely or have their deaths hastened, why would anyone be willing to sign a contract for delivery of organs after his or her death for money, when that would seem to me to be the least trustworthy system.
Right.
So if you could answer that, I'd be grateful.
Brief question, brief answer.
Okay.
Lloyd.
James, he asserts people are not willing to sign now because they don't trust the system and they're afraid of being declared prematurely dead. Where does he get this information from? From idiot surveys. No good social scientist relies on such evidence. No economist ever wants to make use of a survey. People say anything in a survey. Surveys are not a test of anything. Use a little bit of introspection as to why it is you may or may not sign an organ donor card. People in general don't want to contemplate their own violent, immediate, surprising death and dismemberment.
Okay.
Great surprise. Okay. In my conclusion, I'll explain why it is the market will work. But
Okay.
Ira's not going to give me any more time, even though I deserve more than anyone else.
Just because you look like Mel Brooks doesn't mean you get the extra time. So hang in there. Amy, it's your turn to.
Okay, before I get to my question, I do want to respond to what James said about the system.
We'll get to
No. He specifically responded.
This is going to be your question then.
Well, I agree with him that the system should be given every opportunity. We just can't wait for all the people to die right now. So we all want the system to work. We all want all of these efforts. We just can't wait. Now the question. And this is for James. If you object to paying live donors because the poor would allegedly be coerced by poverty into making an unwise choice, do you have any objections to the middle class selling a kidney? It would not be difficult to restrict organ sales to those whose income is at least 70% of the American median. Sure, that would make kidneys more expensive. We could live with that. How about you? Does taking the desperately poor out of the picture make you relent, or do you now move to the paternalistic position that no one should accept any amount of money?
The issue has to do in part with relative deprivation disadvantage. Use several different terms in the discussion, disadvantage being one of them. That's often relative rather than absolute in regard to, say, a poverty level. I think that the way you're raising the question here, I focus on obviously the extreme version of it, those in desperate straits. The problem I think we would have is one that my colleagues also raised, and that is once you set up a system, you're not going to be able to restrict it to the kind of level you indicated, wherever we want to set it in terms of income level, because you're going to be then charged with discrimination against the poor and their opportunity to obtain it. That the system would be unstable the way you sketched it.
So your objection is practical, not ethical or moral?
No, I've given an ethical one, but I'm just saying in response to your question that would be the problem with the system you proposed.